Most tourists associate Europe with beautiful beaches, ancient ruins, and unspoiled cities, as well as freedom, democracy, and security. However, this is not entirely true. Europe is undoubtedly one of the most beautiful and peaceful continents in the world, but it is not immune to crime and violence. In some countries of the continent, the level of danger is higher than in other countries. We are building this video list on the basis of some factors including violent crime rate, war status, government stability, and the population of immigrants. You might be wondering why the population of immigrants is a factor, because the population of immigrants is also one of the reasons for instability in any country. So in today's video we are going to show you top 10 dangerous countries in Europe. But before starting the video, I want to request you, we put our best efforts to create our every single video. So please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's start. Number 10. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a developing country and ranks 74th in the Human Development Index. Its economy is dominated by industry and agriculture, followed by tourism and the service sector. The population of Bosnia and Herzegovina is estimated to be around 3.4 million people. Bosnia remains a politically fragile state since the end of the Bosnian War in 1995. The country is divided into two entities, the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Republika Srpska. These divisions create frequent political deadlocks. Ethnic tensions can flare, especially during election periods or in protests, posing risks of localized violence. A major safety concern is the presence of landmines left over from the 1990s conflict. Although defining efforts have made significant progress, approximately 2% of the country's land area remains affected. These areas are typically marked, but rural and forested regions still pose serious risks to hikers and travelers unaware of mine zones. Organized crime remains a persistent problem in BiH, with networks involved in drug trafficking, human trafficking, and arms smuggling. Due to weak institutions and corruption, organized crime can sometimes operate with impunity. Police crackdowns on such activities can lead to violent altercations, which occasionally spill into public spaces. While Bosnia is not among the most dangerous countries in Europe in terms of violent crime, specific incidents do occur, particularly in nightlife districts or during organized crime crackdowns. Fights in bars and clubs are not uncommon, and occasional gun violence linked to organized groups has been reported. Visitors are advised to remain vigilant when exploring nightlife areas. Although terrorism is not a widespread problem, there have been instances of radicalized individuals linked to extremist groups, raising concerns among authorities. The government closely monitors potential threats, but isolated incidents involving radicalized actors have occurred, contributing to a perception of insecurity. Number 9. Turkey. Turkey, officially the Republic of Turkey, is a country mainly located in Anatolia in West Asia, with a smaller part called East Thrace in Southeast Europe. The population of Turkey was 85.3 million in 2023. Turkey has experienced significant political turbulence over the last decade, including a failed military coup attempt in 2016. The government's crackdown on opposition figures and journalists has heightened tensions, leading to sporadic protests and clashes with law enforcement. Demonstrations, especially in cities like Istanbul and Ankara, can sometimes turn violent. Travelers are advised to avoid political gatherings, as they are often met with heavy-handed police responses. Turkey has been the target of terrorist attacks from both domestic and international groups. Kurdish militants, ISIS, and other extremist organizations have carried out bombings in public areas, including airports, tourist zones, and city centers. While security measures have been strengthened, the possibility of attacks still exists, particularly in southeastern regions and busy urban hubs like Istanbul. Turkey's proximity to conflict zones in Syria and Iraq adds another layer of risk. Border areas, particularly near Syria, have seen occasional cross-border attacks and military activity. Refugee influxes from neighboring countries also strain resources, contributing to local tensions. Turkey has faced criticism for its restrictions on press freedom and human rights. Arbitrary detentions of activists, journalists, and foreign nationals have been reported. Tourists should be cautious when expressing political opinions in public, especially on sensitive topics like the government, Kurdish issues, or international relations, as these can attract unwanted attention from authorities. Earthquakes are a natural hazard in Turkey due to its location on active fault lines. The devastating earthquakes of 1999 and 2023 demonstrate the risks of visiting regions prone to seismic activity. Additionally, aging infrastructure in some areas may not be well equipped to handle natural disasters, which can increase the risk for residents and visitors. While most tourist areas in Turkey are generally safe, petty crimes such as pickpocketing and scams can be common in crowded places like bazaars and transportation hubs. In some cities, organized crime groups are also active, posing additional risks. Coastal regions and nightlife districts have seen incidents of drug-related crimes and occasional violence. While the government has implemented security measures, unpredictable events, such as protests or attacks, can still occur. Travelers are encouraged to follow local advice, monitor news reports, and avoid border regions to ensure a safe experience. Number 8. Serbia. Serbia is a country with a fascinating blend of history, culture, and natural beauty. However, travelers and residents need to be mindful of certain risks that contribute to its reputation as a potentially dangerous destination. This article explores the main safety concerns, including organized crime, political instability, and regional tensions, providing a clear understanding of why caution is recommended in some situations. The population of Serbia was 6.66 million in 2023. Organized crime remains a significant issue in Serbia, with networks involved in drug trafficking, smuggling, and money laundering. These groups sometimes operate with the tacit support of corrupt officials, making law enforcement less effective. The police occasionally crack down on these operations, leading to violent confrontations, particularly in urban areas like Belgrade. While tourists are not typically targeted, there is always a risk of being caught in the crossfire of criminal activities. Although Serbia is a stable democracy in transition, political tensions can flare up, especially around elections and controversial policy decisions. Protests are common, and although most remain peaceful, some demonstrations have turned violent in recent years. Anti-government protests have been met with force by riot police, leading to clashes in the streets. Travelers are advised to avoid large political gatherings, as the situation can escalate quickly. Serbia's political relationship with Kosovo, which declared independence in 2008, remains a point of tension. These unresolved disputes can lead to diplomatic crises and occasional clashes along the border regions. While large-scale violence is rare, tensions are still high, especially in northern Kosovo, where incidents between ethnic Serbs and Albanians have been reported. Visitors traveling to border areas need to stay informed about local developments to avoid risky situations. Number 7. Sweden. Sweden is generally regarded as a safe and prosperous country with high standards of living. Sweden's population is estimated to be 10.6 million people in 2024. However, in recent years, concerns have emerged regarding public safety due to rising crime rates, gang violence, and socioeconomic challenges. This article explores the factors that contribute to the perception that Sweden, while still safe compared to many global regions, is facing new security risks that residents and visitors should be aware of. One of the most pressing concerns in Sweden today is the increase in gun violence, particularly in urban areas like Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö. Gang-related violence, often tied to drug trafficking and organized crime networks, has led to numerous shootings, bombings, and grenade attacks. According to police reports, conflicts between rival gangs have escalated, resulting in civilian casualties in some cases. This surge in violence has sparked debates about law enforcement's ability to control the situation. Sweden has experienced an influx of organized criminal activities, including drug trafficking and extortion. Criminal organizations have become increasingly bold, targeting not only rivals but also businesses and individuals. Although Sweden has not been the target of frequent terrorist attacks, isolated incidents have occurred. The country remains vigilant about potential extremist threats and monitors radicalized individuals. Security has been tightened in public areas, especially during high-profile events, to prevent potential attacks. While Sweden's crime rate remains lower than in many other countries, extensive media coverage of violent incidents has heightened the perception of danger. This perception is particularly strong among residents in cities where gang violence is concentrated. As a result, Sweden's government and police have been under pressure to take stronger measures to ensure public safety. Number 6. Italy. Italy is renowned for its rich culture, history, and cuisine, making it one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world. However, the country also faces several safety challenges, including organized crime, petty theft, natural hazards, and occasional political unrest. While most travelers experience Italy without significant issues, awareness of potential dangers can help visitors stay safe. One of the most persistent security issues in Italy is the presence of powerful organized crime syndicates, including the Cosa Nostra in Sicily, Camorra in Naples, 'Ndrangheta in Calabria, and the Sacra Corona Unita in Apulia. These groups are involved in drug trafficking, extortion, money laundering, and political corruption. Although these activities rarely affect tourists directly, violent incidents linked to mafia rivalries can occur in certain regions, particularly in southern Italy. Petty crime, such as pickpocketing, bag snatching, and scams, is a common issue in major tourist destinations like Rome, Florence, Venice, and Milan. Crowded attractions, public transportation, and markets are hotspots for theft. Some popular scams include overpriced services in tourist restaurants, fake petitions, and unauthorized guides who demand excessive fees. Tourists are also warned to be cautious when using ATMs to avoid card-skimming devices. Italy occasionally experiences large-scale protests and labor strikes, particularly in response to economic issues or government policies. These protests can disrupt transportation and lead to clashes between protesters and police. While such demonstrations are generally peaceful, travelers are advised to avoid political gatherings as they can escalate unexpectedly. While Italy's overall violent crime rate is low compared to other European countries, certain urban areas experience higher levels of violence. Naples, in particular, struggles with gang-related violence linked to the Camorra, which sometimes spills into public spaces. Number 5. France. France is a top travel destination, known for its rich history, fashion, art, and cuisine. However, like any major country, France faces several security challenges. While it is generally safe for residents and tourists, incidents involving terrorism, crime, protests, and other hazards have contributed to concerns about public safety. As of January 2024, the population of France was 68.4 million. France has experienced several high-profile terrorist attacks over the past decade, including the 2015 Paris attacks, the 2016 Nice truck attack, and more recent incidents in public spaces and places of worship. These attacks, often carried out by extremist groups or radicalized individuals, have heightened security measures throughout the country. Authorities remain vigilant, but the possibility of isolated incidents still exists, particularly in large cities and during major public events. The French government has increased police patrols and deployed military units in sensitive areas, but travelers should remain aware of their surroundings and follow any security advisories. France is known for frequent labor strikes and protests, particularly in response to economic reforms and political issues. Demonstrations can turn violent, as seen in the Yellow Vest movement and recent pension reform protests. These events often result in clashes with riot police, damage to property, and disruptions to public transportation. Visitors are advised to avoid large gatherings and monitor local news for updates about potential disruptions during their stay. Petty crime is common in crowded areas, particularly in tourist hotspots such as Paris, Marseille, and Nice. Pickpocketing, bag snatching, and scams target tourists in areas like the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, and public transportation. Some thieves work in groups, using distraction techniques to steal wallets or phones. Number 4. Albania. Albania, a small Balkan country known for its stunning landscapes, rich history, and growing tourism sector, is rapidly attracting international visitors. However, several safety risks, ranging from organized crime to infrastructure challenges, create concerns for residents and tourists alike. The resident population in Albania, according to the 2023 population and housing census, is 2.4 million usual residents. Albania has a history of organized crime, with involvement in drug trafficking, human trafficking, and other illicit activities. Some criminal networks are known to operate internationally, but they also maintain a presence within the country. While violent incidents linked to organized crime rarely affect tourists directly, such activities can foster instability, especially in rural areas or ports. Petty theft is relatively common in popular tourist spots, such as Tirana, Durrës, and Saranda. Pickpocketing and bag snatching incidents occur, particularly in crowded markets, transportation hubs, and nightlife districts. Visitors should be vigilant in these areas and avoid flashing valuables. Albania has experienced periods of political instability, with public protests sometimes escalating into violent clashes between demonstrators and police. Although major unrest is rare, travelers should avoid political gatherings or demonstrations, especially in Tirana, as they can quickly become volatile. During election seasons, tensions tend to rise, and disruptions to public services may occur. While healthcare facilities in Tirana and other urban areas offer acceptable medical care, services in rural regions can be limited. Emergency response times may be slower outside major cities, and access to high-quality healthcare might require traveling to the capital or even leaving the country. It is recommended that visitors have comprehensive travel insurance to cover medical emergencies. Albania's road infrastructure is improving, but many roads remain poorly maintained, particularly in rural and mountainous areas. Reckless driving, including speeding and failure to obey traffic laws, is a common issue. Number 3. Moldova. Moldova, a small landlocked country between Romania and Ukraine, is known for its scenic countryside, traditional winemaking, and Soviet-era heritage. However, the country faces several challenges that impact public safety and security. Issues such as political instability, economic hardship, organized crime, and infrastructure problems contribute to the perception that Moldova is a potentially dangerous destination. As of January 2024, the population of Moldova is approximately 2.42 million people. Moldova has long struggled with the influence of organized crime networks. The country's location makes it a transit hub for illicit activities, including human trafficking, drug trafficking, and smuggling of goods. Trafficking routes from Eastern Europe and the Balkans pass through Moldova, and while these activities typically do not affect tourists directly, the broader impact on safety and governance is significant. The breakaway region of Transnistria, an unrecognized territory along the border with Ukraine, serves as a center for black market trade and organized crime. Moldovan authorities have limited control over this area, creating a security gap. Moldova has experienced frequent political upheaval, with changes in government, corruption scandals, and protests disrupting public life. Although political demonstrations are usually peaceful, they can escalate, especially in times of political tension. Travelers are advised to avoid large gatherings and stay updated on the political situation during their visit. Corruption in Moldova affects many aspects of public life, including law enforcement and the judiciary. Tourists may find it difficult to seek legal assistance in case of disputes, and bribery within the system can complicate matters further. Moldova is vulnerable to seasonal floods and landslides, especially along the Dniester and Prut rivers. Number 2. Russia. Russia, the world's largest country by landmass, boasts a rich cultural heritage, incredible landscapes, and economic hubs like Moscow and St. Petersburg. However, Russia presents a variety of safety concerns due to political unrest, crime, conflicts, and infrastructure challenges. As of the 2021 census, the population of Russia was 147.2 million. Russia has experienced significant political instability, including protests and clashes with authorities. Demonstrations against government policies, election irregularities, or social issues are often met with harsh police crackdowns. Public gatherings deemed anti-government are heavily restricted, and protesters face arrests and intimidation. While tourists are not typically targeted, being caught in such events can lead to legal troubles or injury. Additionally, Russia's involvement in geopolitical conflicts, such as the ongoing war in Ukraine, has increased tensions both within and outside the country. Travelers should stay updated on government travel advisories as the political situation can change quickly. While violent crime has decreased in recent years, Russia continues to face problems with organized crime networks. These groups engage in activities like extortion, drug trafficking, and cybercrime. Tourists are unlikely to encounter mafia-related crime directly, but should remain vigilant, particularly in regions with known criminal activity. Law enforcement in Russia has a reputation for corruption and abuse of power. Foreigners may face arbitrary stops, fines, or requests for bribes, especially in smaller cities or rural areas. Navigating the legal system can be difficult due to bureaucratic inefficiency and lack of transparency. It is essential to carry identification at all times, as police have the right to request documents without explanation. Foreigners, especially those of non-European descent, may encounter xenophobia and racism in some parts of Russia. While major cities are more tolerant, reports of racially motivated attacks have been documented, particularly in rural areas or regions with strong nationalist sentiments. Number 1. Ukraine. Ukraine, a country known for its rich culture, diverse landscapes, and historical significance, has been facing numerous challenges that make it a dangerous place for residents and travelers alike. The ongoing conflict with Russia, economic instability, and various social issues have heightened safety concerns across the nation. Ukraine, which had a population of over 50 million when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, has, like almost all its Eastern European and Central Asian neighbors, undergone severe population decline in recent years. In 2021, ahead of the Russian invasion, the country had around 40 million people. Since 2014, Ukraine has been embroiled in a conflict with Russia, which escalated significantly in February 2022 with Russia's full-scale invasion. The war has resulted in thousands of casualties and massive destruction across several regions, particularly in eastern Ukraine and areas near the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. The conflict has also displaced millions, leading to humanitarian crises. Travelers are strongly advised to avoid conflict zones, as military operations can occur without warning, posing life-threatening risks. Areas affected by the conflict are often littered with landmines and unexploded ordnance. These remnants pose significant dangers to civilians and can cause serious injuries or fatalities. Local and international organizations continually work to clear these areas, but the process is slow and many regions remain hazardous. It is crucial for travelers to heed local warnings and stick to designated safe areas. Political unrest is a recurring theme in Ukraine's history, especially given the ongoing war. Protests and demonstrations can occur, particularly regarding government policies or responses to the conflict. While many protests are peaceful, they can sometimes escalate, leading to violence and clashes with law enforcement. Although the overall crime rate in Ukraine is relatively low compared to other countries, petty crimes such as pickpocketing, scams, and theft is prevalent in urban areas, particularly in cities like Kyiv, Lviv, and Odessa. Tourists are often targeted in crowded places like markets and public transportation. Ukraine's infrastructure has suffered due to years of conflict and economic hardship. Roads, public transportation, and basic services may be unreliable or poorly maintained, particularly in rural areas. The ongoing war has further exacerbated these issues, making travel within the country unpredictable. The healthcare system in Ukraine has faced significant challenges, particularly in the context of the war. While major cities like Kyiv have hospitals with decent medical facilities, rural areas may lack adequate healthcare services. Additionally, the ongoing conflict has strained resources, making it more difficult to access emergency care. Travelers are encouraged to have comprehensive medical insurance and consider bringing necessary medications. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.